with my businesses this morning and this afternoon, actually. And I said, you know, there may be businesses or hundreds or even 1,000 businesses like yourselves in a saturated space. But what differentiates you? How are you able, to set yourself apart and use the available information? We live in a world where the access to information as never been this easy to access information right now. And I think Joey has proved himself. Taboko has taken you through his awards, his what he's done, the team he works with, and I think he's one guy who's going to be able to share some light and enlighten us on how we're going to be able to do this. I'm looking forward to learning myself. I'm keen to chat to Joey. I was doing a bit of research on Hello Computer, and there was such amazing stuff that I've just researched without even speaking to him. And that just goes to show the access that we have currently. You can know so much about something or someone or a company by just using the right tools and looking in the right places. And I guarantee you those things will bring you success. So Joey, I think I've said enough and keen to listen to what you have to say. So over to you.
Awesome, Brad. Thanks for the intro. Thanks, Taboko, for the intro as well. Thanks for the invites to join everybody on the call today on this webinar. I think that the topic is one that's very apt. And even though I'm a representative of one of the largest digital agencies in the country, that's owned by one of the largest advertising groups in the country, we too, because of COVID, had to go back to basics. So it's not just small businesses, it's not just entrepreneurs that are doing that kind of work. For instance, from our perspective, being the large agency that we are and the large group that we are, business would always come to us. We would never prospect the business, wouldn't have a new business team because we were that big. But COVID has changed that. COVID has changed the market landscape. It's changed the competitors with brands and customers looking for cost savings. They're not just attracted to the big agencies anymore. They're now attracted to the small agencies that can actually do the job well. And I think that shakeup of the market is really great because I do think it's problematic when your bigger agencies and your bigger companies are the only ones that are getting a share of the pie. But what COVID means for us is that we have to work harder for the work that comes our way. So the idea of back to basics, I think applies to everyone. We are now, as a business, back to chasing for new business, to prospecting for new business, to do research ourselves around how to keep growing as a business, because I do believe that the earlier quote that Taboko said about the fact that if you're not growing, you're dying, is very, very true. So yeah, today, some of the things I'll share with you are really low-hanging tools that you can utilize that will get you the kind of data that you need to improve your services, to access new markets and to market your services more broadly. I'm going to try to share my presentation with you guys now. Where is this thing? There we go. If you could just let me know once you guys are seeing something on your screens.
I see it clearly, Joey. Thanks.
So you're just seeing the screen with no notes, eh?
Yeah, we see just the screen, the full presentation. Thanks.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, some of the items I'm going to take you through is stuff that we utilize on a day-to-day basis. Some of it is free, and the stuff that is paid is also not that expensive, but it's very, very, very powerful. It's all research-based. And the thing about research is that you could use the research in any direction that you want to use it. So whether it's about finding out about potential markets, it's all about how you structure your research to find out about potential markets. If it's about finding out about your current services and how to improve your services, you structure it in that way. The other thing about the research and some of the tools I'm going to show you is that, quite interestingly as well, with some of these tools, you can test new products or new services that you haven't even launched yet without even having those products online. So it's a great way to kind of hack the system. I mean, when I finished studying in 2005, I opened my first agency immediately in 2006. And at that point in time, none of these tools were available. So being an entrepreneur right now, while I don't think it's easier, I just do believe that you've got more tools at your disposal. Things don't take that long to achieve if you utilize the tools that are available. So the first I'm going to start with is Google Forms and SurveyMonkey. These are the ones that we use quite often. And Google Forms and SurveyMonkey aren't the only service providers that do what I'll be sharing with you right now. There's many others. If you search Google Forms or SurveyMonkey, those two will come up, but then all the other competitors will come up as well. But basically, what can you do with Google Forms and SurveyMonkey? There are surveys or rather forms that you can create yourself, which are very flexible. The interface is incredibly easy to use. And anybody who is computer literate should not have an issue in setting up a Google form. If you've got a Google account, really, that's email address, really, that's all you need to have. Cost, it's free, but from a distribution perspective, you need to distribute it yourself. And what I mean by this is that once you've created the form will then create a link for you or where the form actually exists. You then need to take that link and then essentially share it with your database. So the distribution component is now dependent on your network. So if you believe that you've got a very wide network, you've got a big database, then you can go this route. If you don't have a large enough database, the issue is that the likelihood of you getting a decent sample size is quite low. So it is advisable that you only utilize this if you've got a large database yourself personally. The thing to note about research, though, and you can research this, you can Google the stuff, is take the time to understand how to pose research questions, because the last thing that you want to do is have a survey or do any research that has got a lot of bias built into it. What do I mean by that? An example is a question like, asking somebody, would you buy a pair of shoes from a company with a yellow logo? Now, the implication there is that somebody's going to buy a pair of shoes, when the question that you're asking is about the yellow logo. So you got to be able to separate out your questions. You may want to tier them in terms of what shoes would you buy? And then that question gets answered. Would you buy a pair of shoes from a specialist shoe shop or from a general clothing shop? And then that draws it down. Then eventually you could get down to, if you had to see this logo here, would you trust it as a logo for a place that sells shoes? So there is a bit of work that you need to do in terms of understanding how to pose your questions. Otherwise, if you don't pose your questions correctly, the results that you may get will have an implicit bias. And as a result, you may act on results that actually are not true to what it is that you're trying to discover with regards to that market. What I like about the Google Forms as well is that it delivers the data in a very digestible manner, in the sense that you can get pie charts, graphs, but at the same time, you can also download a CSV files as well. So this is very cool in the sense that perhaps you're doing research to present to your colleagues or potential investor. The output of these forms gives you these kinds of details. What's nice about Google Forms, in terms of like a very practical everyday use in your company right now, is that you can set up a very simple customer satisfaction survey, and on all your electronic invoices that go out to your clients, you ensure that link is inside there, and you request your clients to click onto it and to give you feedback. So then you've got an always-on customer feedback loop. So when you've done work for a client, you've given them an invoice, they're then able to give you feedback. You don't have to have a call center to get that kind of data, to get that kind of information. Something as simple as a customer survey created on Google Forms can achieve that for you. Then we move on to Google Surveys, and this is a lot more sophisticated. And what Google Surveys allows you to do is interact with your potential customers, or interact with your potential customers. So what I mean by potential customers is that you would have an understanding of the profile or demographic of your customer. They're a specific age, in a specific region, in a specific profession, or with a specific title. Now, all of those things can be defined in terms of where your Google surveys go out to. So that's why it becomes very, very powerful. You very immediately are able to get a sample, and a large sample of that, of the exact kind of person that it is that you're looking to get insights from or to talk to. The cost for the Google Google surveys is 140 rand for a one question survey, answered by 200 people. Now, from a research perspective, 200 people replying to a survey is significant. It's not little. I think sometimes people expect you to have answers from 1,000 people for you to have significant statistical data, but 200 we believe is sufficient. And again, we do this kind of research and present the results of this research to our clients, and it's suitable. And our clients include the like of Toyota, Coca-Cola, Old Mutual, APSA, and the like. So if it's good enough for them, it's clearly going to be good enough for us. The distribution is quite important. Like I said, it's distributed to an audience that you define, and it's distributed by Google. So the system, based on the audience that you break down, will distribute this survey to those individuals. It takes about 24 hours to get 50 respondents. And I think the one thing that I'd like to draw your attention to is the fact that it costs around 140 Rand for a single survey question to be answered by 200 people. But the minute that you add a second question, the cost jumps to 1,400 Rand. That being said, there's a lot you can do with a single question. A single question can unpack a lot. It's just all about how you unpack that question. And a light example of that is when somebody asks you, your boyfriend or your girlfriend asks you, "Do you love me?" Now that's one question, but the answers can have either very good consequences or very bad consequences. So yeah, don't be deterred or discouraged by the fact that it's only one question. And I'll give you some examples here of why one question can be quite powerful. So for instance, on the far left-hand side, a single answer format that you could do is asking a question such as, which diaper bag feature is most important to you? So it's one question, but within that one question, you can clarify a number of things. Is it machine washable, removable, changing mat, water bottle packets, customizable, or stroller straps? So just on that one question, you're able to really kind of understand in an entire demographic of, let's say, 200 people, of those people, what preferences do they have? And in what order do they have those preferences? So it allows you to do quite a lot. The multiple answers version, in that one over there, you can kind of now start to group things together. So, what are your top 3, your top 2, and stuff like that. And depending on what it is that you're trying to find out, that they can become quite powerful. So the aspect of being very, very clear about what it is that you're trying to find out is very, very important. So, it's one of those things of measure 3 times and cut once. So spend a lot of time trying to understand the information that you want, so that when you then do these exercises, they are of benefit to you and they deliver the right kind of results that you want. The other types of things that you can do with Google surveys is image related. So let's look at the one on the far right-hand side. Image 2 choices where some you can ask them, which color would you prefer? So in this case, you could be testing out packaging for a new product, uniform for your staff, vehicle branding, whatever it is that you feel that you need to kind of understand in terms of like visuals or how people respond to visual stimuli. You can do that with Google's surveys as well. And again, the fact that it's sent out to quite a large demographic and a very specific demographic is what makes this incredibly, incredibly powerful. Then you've got Google Ads. And from a Google Ads perspective, you're able to test either marketing, or you're even able to test services and potential products that you want to launch out into the market. And I'll explain that to you shortly. The cost is a minimum testing budget of 1,000 Rand. And again, it's distributed by Google. What you have to consider is that you would need to have your materials already designed. So if you've got a marketing manager within your team, they could assist you with this. And what will happen is that once you submit it into Google, it will have to go through an approval process. So if you're looking for results very, very quickly, just be aware of the fact that, with Google surveys, they come out in 24, 48 hours, and then with Google Ads, you have to wait for approval before it goes live. What I think is great about Google Ads testing is that on the marketing side, or rather, let's go on the product side. On the product side, what you're able to do is, for instance, put together ads of your services or products, and have those ads appear in the real world, in the publications where, or the platforms where your audience exists. So for instance, in this example, we've got Financial Men. What you can do with these kind of tests, for instance, is trial out a new service offering. If you've got a hypothesis that you think that people are looking for X, put out an ad that says, I am delivering X. It doesn't have to be, you can link it back to your company directly, where when people click on that ad, it then directs them to a form, and in that form, they fill out their details, and then you say to them, we'll get back to you shortly. Or if you wanted to, you could create a faux brand where there is no branding and there is no company that currently exists. So in that case, there's no risk of you putting your brand name out there for testing a product that you're not currently providing, but you can test the appetite and confirm an hypothesis for a product that you may or may not have. So I think that's quite useful. What they're also useful for is, from a marketing perspective, one of the core things that we do as creative agencies within the advertising space, within the technology space, is that everybody has got the power to create a banner for themselves. But what we're tasked to do specifically is create the kinds of banners that are gonna make you click on that banner. As you all troll the internet, I'm sure you find banners irritating, or you find advertising irritating. It can be, because there's a lot of it. The trick is to design and craft your message in such a manner that it finds the right person, and it resonates with the right person. So before you spend a lot of money on adverts, because sometimes you feel like you know your product, you feel like you know how to describe your product better than anybody else. Sometimes it doesn't land to your consumer the way you think it lands, the way you hear it in your head. So what testing of your ads does is ensure that you don't waste your budget. You're able to put out multiple ads, test the color of your ads, test the images that you use in your ads, test the language that you use in your ads. Is it buy now versus shop now? We've seen, for instance, in some of our clients, such as Toyota, a word can change conversion by as much as 25 to 50%. So the button doesn't change, but you change the word in that button, and your conversion is completely different. So this allows you to do that when you put your ads out into the real world, and see how they perform. And then finally, a platform that's also freely available but very rarely used is what they call Google Trends. And Google Trends is basically a place where you can find out what are people talking about and what are people searching for, within a specific category. Google's the biggest. You have noted that all of the tools I've shared with you today are Google related. The only reason for that is that Google's got 95% penetration in the country. So it's not like in the States where there's Bing and a whole bunch of other search providers. So most of the data exists with Google within SA. So in this space over here, when people go online, they go online to Google stuff to find stuff. So you can find a lot about what is priority for people, what are they thinking about, what are they talking about, and most importantly, what are they looking for? And if you can find out what they're looking for, then you can respond with those services. So I did a few snapshots over here around how you can actually utilize this tool. On the top left over here, you'll see that I put there just I wanted to search the term facilities management. And after searching facilities management, you'll see at the bottom over here that it gives you the interest over time by people when it comes to searching for facility management. It then gives you where those searches are happening predominantly. And then further down here, it will give you related topics. So related topics is something similar to the fact that a customer may be requiring facilities management as the actual thing that they want, but they're searching for it under I don't know, rental management or something like that. You guys are better than me at this. What this helps you to do is that you're then able to see the related searches around the specific topic. And if you can find out what people are talking about around the same topic, you could use those entry points to get them to come to you in the facilities management space. I then put in another term to compare facilities management, for instance, with property management. And then what you can then see over there are the conversations that are happening. And in this example over here, you see property management as being a higher conversation than facilities management. And then finally, there is one where I did, what's this one? Yeah, so that's a comparison, also with infrastructure. And then finally, I did a version where I specifically wanted to do the search term, but under the real estate sector. So they've got this drop down over here, where in this drop down, it will hone in specifically into a category, and it will tell you what people are searching for specifically in that category. And when I then went into real estate, you then see infrastructure management totally disappears off of the search radar. The tool is pretty cool, and you can pretty much go inside it and just kind of like play around with it. But it allows you to kind of like start seeing what people are searching for, what's related to the stuff that they're searching for, and that could perhaps give you insights in terms of like what kind of marketing you should be doing, what kind of services you should be doing. You may find that in Gauteng, a specific term is stronger in terms of resonance than it is in Mpumalanga or in Limpopo, for instance. It helps you to do that. And you can drill down your searches for terms, products, even behaviors like, I don't know, whatever it is that you type in, it will pretty much let you know exactly what people have been searching for within that space. And yeah, those are the items that I wanted to share with you. Like I said, we utilize these quite a bit in our business. We've got a wide range of a lot more sophisticated research methods and stuff like that. But most of those, if we engage in them, our clients pay us to utilize those tools because it can be quite expensive. But for the most part, there is so much that you can do with the tools that are freely available. There's so much that you can do, for instance, even with your own Instagram profile. Yeah, but I'll leave it at that. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to engage in the conversation.
Joey, thank you so much. I think it was very concise and very to the point, the presentation that you shared. And while you were speaking, I was just making a list of notes and a couple of talking points that that I'd like you to just have a little bit of a discussion around. But we have a few questions coming to the chat. I would maybe ask if I can put their videos and sound on. I think the first question came from Trifina. So I'm just going to ask Trifina if she could put her video and sound on, so that she could ask a question aloud. Okay, just waiting for it to come on, because I think these things are key. And I think what we need to also understand is that, and I was just talking to one of the colleagues today, a lot of our businesses and SMEs get intimidated by some of these tools or some of these things that we're talking about, like Google Ads, Google Trends. And I think we need to change our mindset in terms of looking at it as, something that's intimidating and that can be a barrier, rather than how to, use it for the benefit of, growing our business, quite simply put. I'm not sure
Sure.
if Trifina is able
Hi,
to ask a question.
yes, yeah, I'm ready to ask the question. I'm just unable to switch on my video, but I'll just speak.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks very much for the session. Very insightful. Thanks, Joey. So I actually tried Google Ads before. I run a service business, and I found that it charged so much money. You know, like they want you to put more money in order for your ad to be visible to more people. So that's my question. And also, I actually don't know whether I do get the conversion based on whether I select only Gauteng's area or if I were to go national. Which one is better, to rather limit it to the circumference of my area, location, or to like open it, because my service, I can provide it anywhere really. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask was, also, you know, the amount of clients that you get responding to your ad, is it dependent on how long you allow the advert to run for, and does that also matter? Because it seems like you need to have it on for a while before you start to see some conversions or that. But they charge you, I think, based on the clicks or based on how long you've had it for, or a monthly fee or something.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there are different cost methods, but one of the ones that we prefer to use is on conversion. So basically, you pay for the clicks. But there's multiple factors that can actually affect the success of your Google ads or any of the advertising you're doing online. One of them is what I was talking about related to quite frankly, the quality of your ad. You know, is it scripted and designed in a manner that is as impactful as it possibly can be? Because the reality is that we are bombarded with advertising when we drive, when we're in the radio, when we're online, with all the banners. So it is important that you take the time to craft where it is that you're creating as best as you can. So that's an important thing. So the test that I showed earlier on within Google Ads is something that you could do. You could take one of your ads and perhaps do 5 different versions of the ad, and from those 5 different versions, see which one is getting the most conversion. And based on that, already you're going to be maximizing on your investment. You're not just putting out an ad out there and hoping for the best. You're actually testing different things, test different words, test different images, and the results will come back to you. And you know, the more people click, the more return on investment that you get. With regards to location, it's purely based on your service delivery capability. If I was a business that only can service in Gauteng, I'm not going to advertise nationally. It would be a waste of money for me to advertise nationally. I'd only advertise in Gauteng. In fact, if I was a business in Malville, I'd only advertise to people within a 10-kilometer radius of Malville or 20-kilometer radius of Malville. You can literally specify to that degree. But if you are national, I think maybe one of the things that you may want to do is consider the areas of high conversion. So if your service is such a service that is only accessed in metropolitans or in CBD areas, then make sure that you only target in CBD areas. There's no point in running it, you know, completely nationally in areas where your consumers are unlikely to be. So if you've got a general sense of the kind of urban environment where your customers are, you want to target your ads specific to those areas. Just by doing all of those over there, while the cost may stay the same in terms of what you're investing, your ROI should increase because you're just being a lot more efficient with that investment. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes,
thank you, Joey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trifina. Really appreciate it. And thank you for that insight from Joey as well. I'm going to ask Connie to ask their question. Connie, you have the ability to ask your question.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to find out that the 1,000 rand that you pay, is it just to test the advert or will the advert be live on Google Ads?
The 1,000 that you'd pay would be to test, but it would be testing live on Google Ads. So you'd be testing in a real environment. So for instance, your ad would appear in one of Google's networks. So for instance, if Daily Maverick is part of the Google network, it could potentially appear on Daily Maverick if that's the target audience that you provided. It's very important that it does do that, because you want to test the effectiveness of your ad in the real world. There's no point of it being tested with like a small sample group of people just sitting in the corner. So yeah, it does go out into the real world, and the results that you get are real world results.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Connie. Thanks, Joey, again. And I think I've just got one question from Roland. I'm going to allow him to speak now. Roland, you there? Okay. I think I'll ask the question on Roland's behalf. The question is, hi, Joey, what is the basic running time of your ad, or a normal ad, as if I understand correctly?
I mean, we generally tend to advise our clients to have an always-on approach. And in terms of like an always-on approach, your always-on approach can also be seasonal, in the sense that you can have an always-on approach where throughout the year, generally you're spending 1,000 rands a month on your advertising, just to keep you top of mind, just to keep, you never know when people are going to need your service, right? So that's why you want to have an always-on approach. That said, there are some businesses that are impacted by seasonal shifts, be it Easter, be it Christmas, be it specific holidays. And if you know that your product specifically does well in specific seasonal shifts, then during those shifts, you want to up your investment. So if you're doing it 1,000 rands every single month, but Easter is a very important selling time for you, you may want to say during the Easter time, you're going to up it to 5,000 rands, just to ensure that you get maximum reach at that point in time. But generally, we believe in an always-on approach. When COVID hit, a lot of our clients wanted to switch off their marketing. And what we advise them to do is not to do that, because what happens is that when you switch off your marketing, you lose your share of voice. And the minute that you lose a share of voice, your competitors gain momentum on you. If you disappear from my life and I don't see you, right? And your competitors come and they're the ones I see all the time. At that point in time when I need your service, I'm going to think about the person that I saw last. So if you can afford it, have an always-on approach. But again, for it to be quite smart is don't just put it on and then just leave it running. Test it. Try different things. See what works. See what doesn't work. Because if you don't do that and you don't get results, you're going to get disgruntled and eventually just switch it off. And I think that switching it off in the times that we're living in, I don't think is the smartest thing to do.
I think I really like what you said. If I may, repeat it, is that losing your share of voice. Is that correct? Is in what you mentioned?
Yes.
And I think that's absolutely fundamental, because I'm not sure, I could stand to be corrected, but they say top of sight to top of mind. The person who's always been there, and for example, you sometimes get these people calling you. Just a very practical example, but you get these people calling you in terms of insurance and wanting to offer you better car insurance and all of this stuff, and it's annoying when you don't need it. But when you're purchasing a new car, then you start thinking, I need to speak to these people. And the ones that probably stood out to you the most is going to be the one that you're going to call or engage with. Quite recently, even in terms of business, when using specific service providers, that have always been there, not overly aggressive, but just the right amount that have been there. Those are the guys that came to my mind first when I needed specifically something, to be done for our beneficiaries. And I think what you just mentioned is have an always-on approach, and I think someone can capture that in the chat function down. Always having an always-on approach. I think that's key, so that top of mind, top of sight, you'll be the first one to resonate or be thought about, in terms of these opportunities.
Completely. I mean, recently, not even recently, it happens to me all the time that I get stuff coming in my inbox all the time, some service or product that's being sold to me, and I'm not always looking for that item. But the day that I am looking for that item, just as you said, it's going to be there. And also just to back what you just said, it's also about finding a balance. You don't want to be invasive. You know, you don't want to be calling somebody every single day, in their email every single day. But you do want to be checking in once a month or at least once a quarter and stuff like that, because I know personally for me that people that do that, the day that I'm looking for their service, something about just that always on approach makes me perceive them to be professional. You know,
Okay.
they're not irritating me, but they're constantly saying, "Hey, Joey, look, I'm just checking in. You know, what's happening in your world? Just wanted to let you know about these services that we have. Trust that you will." So that's also an always on approach. It doesn't mean that it has to be just email, what's those banners online. It could be an email campaign where you are consistently touching base with your current customers and also your potential customers as well.
Joey, one thing to note, and I think this is just a question from Jeremy Hunts, if I'm not mistaken, and I hope to have that name correct. He asked, and I'm assuming, I'm just going to assume, he said, how long is the test ad on for? Or maybe generally ask the question, how long do you generally have a test ad on for?
About a week. They run for about a week's time.
Okay.
On various platforms. Yeah. And you're able to check on the results after 24 hours. You're able to check on the results on a day-to-day basis.
Perfect. Thanks, Joey. Just some of the points from my side, and looking at Hello Computer and just looking at the history. Joey, this is something that really I don't mean to generalize, but this is an issue that small business does face. So customer satisfaction surveys, CRM systems, how important was this for you, and how did this contribute to the success of your business?
Look, I think that delivering an excellent product is the holy grail, really. And if I'm honest, CRM and customer satisfaction, certainly when I started my businesses, my history is that I started 3 agencies, and the last version of my agency was acquired by the group that I'm in right now. But when I started with my businesses, it was all about just deliver the best product that you can, and word of mouth is how you grow. Literally, that's what we did. CRM technologies were there, but they were not as easily accessible as they are right now. You can subscribe to a CRM platform. Back then, you had to invest in this big SAP or Sage or very, very complex stuff that some small companies can't do. So it wasn't really something that we practiced then, that I could say, CRM did this and that's how it grew our business. However, right now, CRM and understanding your customer and having empathy for your customer is your business. And what we should be looking at with regards to research is really understanding what your customer is looking for. Really understanding what problems you can solve for them, and the best way to solve it for them, and the most efficient way you solve it for them. It's companies that do that succeed, in my view. We come from an era of the company creates a product and pushes it onto the consumer. Consumers have now got a great amount of choice. And now we're living in an age where we're designing our products and our services around what the consumer wants. So you can't dictate to a client that this is your product and this is how it's going to work and so forth. Clients want flexibility. Clients want different things, and this is across industries. So research becomes important, because then it allows you, and CRM, it allows you to really get into the shoes of your customers in order to design your products and your services in a manner that will deliver great results. And clients that do, or brands that do that consistently, remain sustainable and continue to grow. The way market dynamics from a marketing perspective and how consumers behave has shifted in the last 15 years quite drastically.
One key learning lesson or insight that you've just mentioned now: understanding your customer is your business. And I think that's key for everyone tuned in, and everyone looking to to grow their business, even sustain their business in a difficult time like this. And I think now more than ever, it's of paramount importance.
Yeah.
It's greatly important to know who you're dealing with, because as you just said, understanding your customer is your business. And I just see another question has popped up here. Connie, would you want to maybe ask Joey the question? Let me just, okay, I think you can speak, Connie. I think you just turn your mic on.
Yes, I wanted to find out in terms of email marketing platform, that a platform like MailChimp, will the corporate market be comfortable opening those kind of emails, or only if it comes from a paid for platform like Everlytic or something similar?
No, MailChimp is very credible. We use MailChimp ourselves. And the thing about MailChimp is that they are the tools built into MailChimp are fantastic. It's a very robust platform. And if you use using the free version of it, the only thing it does really is state the fact that it's coming from MailChimp. And sometimes, I'm not sure if I can remember correctly, sometimes you may have issues in terms of like the sender's address, where you may not be able to send the emails as if they're coming from your email address. I can't remember that. It's been a long time since I've been on MailChimp. But MailChimp is definitely very credible, a safe platform, and we use it as well. So there isn't a need to go to the very expensive platforms at all. MailChimp works great. We love MailChimp.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Connie. Joey, just to bring this, back to the practical elements, and I can tell you this is because we deal a lot with these kind of issues. A lot of businesses sometimes have new ideas, and I think this goes back to, I think, one of the tools you mentioned, SurveyMonkey, or possibly MailChimp, or actually quite all of the tools that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
And I'll list them now. A lot of businesses ask me, and I think I may speak on behalf of my program and my colleagues, my program managers as well, is, when you speak about innovation, you're trying to be innovative, and they say, Bradley, I have this idea, do you think it can work? And now I see a solution to I have an answer for that question. Is that, okay, the question is basically not for me, but you can have the tools, and you have free platforms that you have the ability to use to answer that question, whether people would be interested in a product, or people would be interested in a service. And I think too oftentimes we let go of those questions, or those questions aren't answered because we aren't using tools like these. And I think it's a problem in today's day and age, because we're not making use of these kind of tools.
I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. Everybody knows Dropbox, right?
Yes, definitely.
Dropbox was launched before it even existed. And what I mean by that is that Dropbox created a website, and then this website, they then promoted this web. In fact, it wasn't even a website, it was just a web page. And on this page, they then advertised this page, and on this page, it was a basic write-up of like, do you need cloud storage that all your colleagues can access and that you can easily share files with? And people said, or rather, they signed up to it, right? And then they just had a process of giving comms to people, saying to them, okay, cool, you're currently in the line, we will get back to you shortly, and so forth. What the Dropbox founders then did is that they took all the respondents that they had and then took that to investors and said that we believe that this service is required, and we validated the service because of these people that have signed up for it. So it doesn't exist yet, but they've signed up for the service over here. The investors backed it. The investors gave them money, and Dropbox is where it is today, based on the fact that this basic online research was done, where they were validating an hypothesis or validating an idea. So that's the other thing, is the fact that consider these research tools as things to back your investment propositions. When you're talking to people that you want to finance your business, show them that, look, I've talked to the consumers, I've talked to these guys, I've got their names, and this is what they're looking for. So it makes a conversation a lot easier, and you're able to clarify things a lot sooner. You're also able to then say, would you like this product, right? And of this product, which features do you want? and then they're going to click on the features. You can then, of those 10 features, then say, okay, cool. The top 3 features are A, B, C, and D. Therefore, our development roadmap of building out this business is going to focus on these 3 items. We'll get to the 7, but we don't have to have all 7 to start this business. We can start with the first 3, but we know which 3 are the most important. So these tools are hugely beneficial. And quite frankly, to be honest with you, we're living in an age right now where every business is a digital business. I don't care what it is that you do. You are a digital business. You've got infrastructure, you've got logistics, you've got communications, you've got your customers are expected to shop in a specific way. So as entrepreneurs, we also have to get out of this thing of saying Google scares me and stuff like that. You'd be amazed at how much information you'll get just in saying, how do I on Google? There's video tutorials.
Yes,
it's all that. The amount of learning I do by just doing that is incredible. I'm currently in the process of starting a second business, a furniture business. I've never studied furniture in my life, but I'm starting a furniture business, but I'm learning about it through Google as I go along. And I'm designing it based on what I'm finding online. So entrepreneurs are really empowered with a lot of tools that are available today to do amazing things.
I'll just, with what you just said, and I think one of the key lessons for myself personally, Joey, is that whatever you've spoken about today and whatever you've discussed in terms of the tools and in terms of your experience and all of that stuff, at the core of it, or what it leads, is informed decision making. Like what you just said now, like Joey, you got a Hello Computer, runs a host of things digitally, direct marketing, CRM, all of that stuff is what you do. I've seen the website, and like I was pretty stumped by how much you guys do. But now from what you just saying, and you wanted to start looking to furniture and those kind of things, I can tell you that you probably know a lot more than people who actually manufacture it and who don't make use of these kind of information. It happened to me is I think I was in the process of purchasing, it was earphones, just something simple as that, and I don't know whether to go to AirPods or the Samsung Galaxy Buds or whatever it may be. And all I did is I researched it. I researched it, and then I've also found things while I was researching and YouTubing and finding out specific information about the products itself. I was actually enlightened to things that I didn't know that I wanted while I was doing this research, and I came about information that I wasn't even searching for, which helped me so much more, because I'm just going to use this example again, is like, what type of sound do I like? The AirPods are more voice and mid heavy, and then they high quality, and that you get the Samsung Galaxy Buds are more bass heavy, gymming, music, that kind of thing. And then I've made my decision based on that, and it took me maybe a day just to make a purchase decision. And I think those are some of the key things that we need to make use of, and that we have access to, and that we need to utilize fully. Joey, I think we're coming to the end of our session. I've got so many notes that I want to talk to you about, but unfortunately we're running out of time. Is there any closing statements from yourself? What I want to do is I just want to go through the tools that will be typed out in the chat box, so the guys know the platforms that we've spoken about. So number 1, Joey spoke about Google Forms. Number 2, Joey spoke about SurveyMonkey. He highlighted Google Trends. Joey also highlighted Google Ads, and lastly he touched on MailChimp. Joey, did I miss anything out there?
I think those are all the items. And as you search for these ones over here, you'll find a lot more.
Yeah. So just to go to again, Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, Google Trends, Google Ads, and MailChimp. Joey, I'd like to thank you so much for the time that you've made available to come and speak to us and highlight and share light on these amazing tools, and also telling us about your story and how you've been able to do that. Thank you, Ted. What I now would like to do would be just to look at so we've learned a lot about information. We understand that there are tools available and we can access this information. So it's not impossible anymore. we can possibly look at a follow-up session where we discussed and to put to test, have we tested all the platforms that we discussed today. But just looking at this, and this is a few key elements of, what we wanted to discuss and what we want to share with our businesses. If I look on the screen, sales and marketing have generally operated as two separate departments at certain times, okay? So this is now how do we make practical use of this information. Some of the criticisms that were faced is that marketing sometimes is misinformed about the challenges that the sales teams face. And then the challenges faced from the opposite side is that, the sales department cannot successfully execute the marketing strategies. But what Joey did mention in the beginning, and we also touched on this, is that he's mentioned a statement that buyers are now more educated than ever, okay? So just keep that at the back of your mind, is that people, as we mentioned, have more access to information, and people are now more educated than ever. And I want to go back to what he said again about knowing your customer. And he said this: understanding your customer is your business. So having the information, relevant information, and understanding your customer is vitally important for your business to be sustainable and also for your business to grow. I want to move on to the next slide and just touch on a few key points on how the data that we receive or the data that we are looking for and we find can be organized. Okay, so as mentioned, it's of paramount importance to note the following data that you obtain or wish to seek about your customer. The information needs to be accurate. Obviously, when you're speaking to someone or when you want to talk to a client, the information that you want to relay or highlight has to be accurate information about them. The information needs to be relevant. So a lot of the times, marketing and sales departments in small business, and I'm talking specifically in our context now, want to sell a lot or be all things to all people. So like sometimes you see in a general company profile that a business does a lot. So say, for example, if I'm pitching to a client that that's offering a cleaning opportunity, I'm not going to go and sell to them other things that my business can do, albeit that I can offer certain services. But I think it's key to be relevant to the type of customer that you're speaking to. Your information needs to be timely. And remember this, the specific topics we're talking about is information that's also shared within the organization, okay? So, for example, like some of the surveys, and I'll bring it back to a real life example. When our MER department, looks at getting information or running surveys, the information is shared immediately. So immediately we know what to fix, we know what to change, and we know what to be focusing on. So that is a key element of your information being able to be timely and shared timely in a timely perspective. It needs to be transferable. In your department, for example, you can't work in silos in your specific sales team or in the specific teams. You need to be able to transfer that data. So, for example, if you have data about a specific client that you want to approach or that you're dealing with at the moment, the data needs to be easily transferable into the different departments. It needs to be easily understood. Like Joey did mention, I think it was Google Trends, if I'm not mistaken, Google Ads. He said the information is digestible so that everyone can understand. Information can't be so hectic or complicated that it's not easily understood by the different departments in the team or even yourself. And lastly, the information has to be accessible. So I don't want to waste any more time. I just want to thank everyone for the questions that were asked and specifically to Joey for the insights that were given. We really appreciate your time, Joey, once again. And thank you for hosting an awesome session. We've gotten great comments on the chat box. And if you just want to say cheers to everybody, you may have the opportunity now, and then I'll hand over to Tiboko. Tebs, thank you so much, and thank you, Joey, for being here, and thanks for having me also host the show. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me as well. Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur and always been an entrepreneur. So yeah, y'all are my people. So yeah, good luck in all your endeavors, and we'll see you out in these hustling streets. Take care.
That's it.
We'll see you out in these streets. Thank you so much, Joey. We thank you for your time, your insights. You were on brief, to the point. And this was certainly a session where everybody on the call is feeling much more equipped to go out there and get to understand their customers better. The next session, guys, will be on the 20th of April. This is a bit of a side session away from the back to basics. What we're doing here is, if you guys remember when lockdown started last year, we had a big panel of experts on telling us about some of the legal implications, psychological implications, financial, and kind of public relations implications for your business. We're bringing them all back onto the platform, and we're going to go full circle just to understand what has actually happened versus what we thought was going to happen over the lockdown, and how you should prepare yourself now, essentially for the rest of time until the next big thing. So please do go to ettp.co.za, where you will find an opportunity to log on to our newsletter, and you can also check out all of the events that are up and coming. I'm going to send out a SurveyMonkey link after this. So I'm hoping that after this session, we will all appreciate that as any business, we always want to make sure that we are making our customers happy. You are our customer, and it's so important for us to get feedback from you. So please do just take some time to answer that survey link. You guys can also just drop me an email, teboho@ettp.co.za. teboho@ettp.co.za. And that's really just to chat to me or give me any kind of input about anything. Some of you were part of our networking session before. So if you are on there and you have some comments about how we can make that better, how we can improve on it, was the first time that we were trialing it, it is for you. So please do either drop me an email, sign up to our newsletter, or take that survey to help us understand how we can make things better for you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful night and enjoy your weekend. Good night.